Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and thanks for joining me for another episode of FPL Fix. Is it finally time to sell Erling Haaland? In this episode I'll cover the top transfers, the key players to target and reveal my Game Week 4 plans, including whether I'm brave enough to go without the big Norwegian. Patrick's on holiday this week, so let's get straight into it and we'll start off with a quick look back at what feels like a lifetime ago in Game Week 3. In goal I had Sells, who couldn't keep West Ham out, and my double Spurs defence didn't do much better either. They would have both blanked if Pedro hadn't just hit his DEFCON for the first time this season. Cucurella made it 3 returns from 3, so he was my standout player in defence. My midfield was a disaster though. I punted on Ndoye over Bruno or Mbeumo, and that single call cost me 9 massive points. Rodgers and Watkins failed to combine again, and Aston Villa still haven't scored their first goal of the season, but my other 2 strikers saved my week. 8 points from Evan, and getting the captaincy right on Haaland, who was my top scorer, helped me just about beat the average. Before we move on, he's not here today, but Patrick did have a really good game week with net 60 points. He took a dodgy -4 with his new signings combining for just 1 point, but it ended up working out as Diouf came off the bench for his 10-pointer, and I could almost hear Patrick shouting, "Enzo!" from another continent when the Chelsea midfielder picked up 12 points. Right, let's put Game Week 3 behind us and look at the biggest market movers ahead of Game Week 4. Starting with the most transferred out players, and Palmer is top again, with over 2 million managers getting rid of him over the last 2 game weeks. Given his injury before the break and his price tag, it's no surprise to see more managers move him on. Cunha and Saliba are on this list, and they're also injury risks at the moment. They both have yellow flags, so that's why they're being moved on. Chris Wood and Ollie Watkins are interesting for me though. Forest have Big Ange in charge now, so there's every chance Chris Wood gets even more opportunities. And Ollie Watkins has been disappointing, but the fixtures are still there, the form hasn't been, and Villa are still yet to score this season. Now on to the most transferred in players, and at the top with over 1 million transfers in is Jack Grealish. He's been in great form since his move and seems nailed in that attack. I can see why managers are bringing him in, but I don't like it to be honest. I don't see this form continuing much longer. Next up is Semenyo, and he's a great pick. Bournemouth have good fixtures coming up, and he is sure to be involved in the goals. Enzo is third. He's looked great so far for Chelsea. The managers who started with him, like the usual co-host Patrick, have really benefited from his attacking positions and early season form. Isak is next, and when he settles into the Liverpool team, he might become an essential pick, but I can't see him getting many minutes this week against Burnley. And last of the top 5 is Pedro. He's cheap and he's been in great form all season. There was images of him being sick in Brazil's first match in the break and he didn't play any minutes in their second game, so could be some doubt there. So that's where the FPL managers are making moves, but who should we actually be targeting? Let's take a look at the fixture ticker. As you can see on screen, I've got Liverpool and Spurs at the top with really strong fixtures in all of their next 3 games. Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest are the other sides worth looking at though. Palace play Sunderland and West Ham, but then have Liverpool to deal with, while Forest have Arsenal first, but Burnley and Sunderland straight after. Looking at the players to target, and it's quite tricky this week. Liverpool defenders are still worth looking at, but with Isak due to join the team, the minutes for most of their midfielders and attackers should be a bit more difficult to predict. Same can be said about Spurs really, with the signings of Simons and Kolo Muani. Hopefully not many people do need a goalkeeper transfer, but I think Sells and Henderson are solid options if anyone does. In defence, and Van Dijk, Porro and Munoz are my favourite picks. They're all expensive though, so Richards or Lacroix are also options if budget's an issue. Midfield is tricky. Salah's the standout and a great captain option, but other than him, there's a lot of rotation risk at Liverpool and Spurs. If you want a punt, then Semenyo is solid. Rodgers is a gamble if Villa wake up, and Josh King is a cheap enabler for Fulham. Moving on to forwards, and there are a few options this week, but Mateta is the clear standout for me. He's on penalties and playing at home to Sunderland. What more can you ask for? Okay, before I get into my transfer plans and we talk about Haaland, I just want to take a minute to look at some of the players who were on fire during the international break. First up, Dan Ndoye, who bagged a goal and 2 assists for Switzerland, proving that I wasn't completely crazy backing him last week. And secondly, Erling Haaland. Against Moldova on Tuesday, he scored 5 goals and got 2 assists. But Man United's defence is at least slightly better than Moldova's, right? The other player to talk about from the internationals is Isak. He only played 28 minutes across 2 important games for Sweden, so he's very unlikely to start or get many minutes against Burnley this week. Okay, let's talk about my transfers, and here's the big one. Haaland is out, or will be by the deadline. Now here's why I'm being either very brave or very stupid, I'll let you decide. So my transfers for this week are Haaland out and Mateta in, Jorginho Rota out and Salah in. I know that there's some risk with Haaland playing at home to a weak Man United team, especially with his form during the international break, but I'm really confident that Mateta can cover those points against Sunderland. Haaland plays Arsenal straight after, while Mateta goes up against West Ham, so I'm pretty confident there. And Burnley for Salah just feels like it's the right time for him to go big. I'm expecting a couple of returns, and he will be my captain. The plan is to keep Salah for 2 weeks while he plays Burnley and Everton, and when Haaland plays United and Arsenal, but then swap them back so I can use the triple captainship on Haaland against Burnley in game week 6. The rest of my team looks decent on paper. Sels has a tough match against Arsenal, but has a good chance of some save points. Cucurella and the double Spurs defence all play away, but all have plenty of routes to points in their games. In midfield, I've got double Liverpool now, with Salah joining the team alongside Cody Gakpo for their great fixture. Next up is Rodgers, who my patience is wearing thin with, but I still think he could do well over the next few weeks with the fixtures Villa have. And my last midfield spot goes to Reindeers, and he'll be my only City player now with Haaland being sold. I've gone against the defensive meta and gone with 3 at the front again. I've got 2 strikers with strong home matches in Mateta vs Sunderland and Evan Nilsson vs Bournemouth, and then Ollie Watkins, who, similar to Rodgers, I'm getting frustrated with, but I'm hoping and do think he can turn things around soon. Well, that's my plan for game week 4. Let me know in the comments, are you sticking with Haaland or backing Salah like me? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and good luck for the deadline. I'll be back with Patrick next week, and hopefully we'll all be celebrating a green arrow. See you next time.